What happens when a married woman lies about being single just to feel wanted, and her little white lies turn into screenshots, timelines, and custody schedules? How is a husband supposed to answer when strangers know his wife as single before his own family hears the truth, and his only weapon is a pile of quiet facts? Can you still say it was just for attention when the lie changes your legal status in a hospital cafeteria at lunchtime? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Isolde Wynn, and I was single long before my husband ever filed the papers that made it true. At least, that is what I told men in bars, in apps, in little late-night chats. I said I lived alone. I said I was free. I said I was not ready for something serious. I said anything except the simple fact that I had a husband and a 5-year-old son asleep in a small apartment kitchen full of labeled jars and 2 mugs on opposite counters. People act shocked when they hear that. They clutch their pearls and say, I am evil, that poor Daniel is an angel, that Milo will grow up broken. They only see the last part of the story, the part in the hospital cafeteria, where a man with a neutral face put divorce papers and temporary custody orders into my hands, while Daniel walked toward the elevator and did not look back. They do not see the quiet years before that. The way Daniel spoke more to spreadsheets than to me. The way everyone called me lucky, but never asked if I felt like a ghost. So yes, I lied about being single, but I was not the only liar in that marriage. I did not start by cheating in some hotel or dark parking lot. I started in the kitchen, in the same place where I made school lunches and poured juice for Milo. It was a Tuesday. I remember because the wall planner had little blue stars on Tuesdays for recycling, and Daniel liked to circle them so we would not forget. He sat at the table with his laptop open, shoulders bent, face lit by the screen. Milo sat beside him, legs swinging, pressing crayons hard into paper. I stood at the counter, rinsing dishes. My mug was by the stove. His mug sat near the sink. 2 separate corners. It had been like that for months. At some point, we stopped moving them closer together. Daniel asked Milo about kindergarten. Milo told him about blocks and a boy who cried. Daniel smiled, the small, soft smile he kept for our son. Then he asked if the gas bill had come yet. He did not turn his head to look at me when he asked. I told him I thought it was in the mail pile. He said we should open it later and check the numbers. I wanted him to ask about my day. I had listened to people complain about Wi-Fi and printers all morning at the co-working space. I had solved problems and smoothed egos. Men there told me I was the friendly one. Nobody at home called me that. I told Daniel I had helped a woman fix her membership account and that she had called me a lifesaver. He nodded and said that was good. Then he went back to his spreadsheet. I moved a little louder in the kitchen, hoping he would glance up and see my new top. He did not. Later, when Milo went to play in his room, I leaned against the door frame and crossed my arms. I told Daniel he worked too much. He said the quarter-end numbers were bad and that his boss needed reports. I said he cared more about columns than kisses. He said we could talk more on the weekend when he was less tired. I hate that word, tired. It became our third person. It slept between us, sat at our table, answered for him. That night, in our bedroom, I tried again. I had showered, put on lotion that smelled like vanilla, changed into a nicer nightshirt. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling until he came in with his laptop under his arm. He asked if I minded if he worked a bit while I watched something. I said I minded a lot. I said we had not been out on a date in months. I reminded him that we used to go to movies, to bars, to little restaurants where he would touch my knee under the table. He said things were different now, with Milo, with money, with his position at work. He said he was doing this for us. I told him I did not feel included in us when I was alone every night. I said I felt like a babysitter and a cleaner who got a small salary called joint account. He said that was unfair. He said he took care of rent and food, that I did not have to worry. He asked why I needed more than that. I asked why he never told me I was beautiful anymore. He said he told me when it mattered. I asked when that was. He did not have a quick answer for that. He put the laptop on the desk instead of on his knees and stood there, looking like he wanted to fix something, but did not know where to start. He stepped closer and tried to hug me. His arms went around my shoulders, heavy and warm. I could have leaned in. Instead, I felt tight, angry. I pulled back and picked up my phone from the nightstand. I said I was not in the mood to be comforted like a child. He exhaled and sat on the edge of the bed. I opened my apps. I did not go to the dating one right away. First I scrolled a bit, checked messages from Vera, looked at photos. Then my thumb moved to the little flame icon without thinking. The app opened on my last chat. A man from another city had asked if I was seeing anyone. I had told him I was between relationships. That was how it started, with a soft lie. Daniel asked what I was reading. I said it was just a group chat. I tilted the screen away. He stood up, took his laptop, and moved to the corner desk. He plugged it in and opened a fresh spreadsheet. I could see rows and columns from the bed, but not the words. He clicked and typed, clicked and typed. I asked what he was doing now. He said he was tracking bills and dates so he would not forget anything. He said things had slipped lately. I wondered what he meant by that. I watched his face, bright in the glow. He looked calm, maybe too calm. I felt a strange distance, like we were two people placed in the same room by mistake. He shifted in his chair when I got up to go to the bathroom. As I walked behind him, I glanced at the screen. I saw dates in one column, little notes in another. Some lines looked like late home, out with Vera, sick day Milo. My mouth went dry. Before I could read more, he moved the mouse and the window shrank into a small bar. A plain desktop replaced it. I asked why he closed it so fast. He said he hated people looking over his shoulder. He said he felt judged when he worked. I shot back that I knew more about people than he did from his little squares. He did not answer. On the way back to the bed, I heard the soft sound of a drawer sliding in. It ended with a tiny click, like a lock. I turned. He had pushed a desk drawer with his knee. I asked what was in there. He said, without looking up, that it was just personal papers, bank letters, boring things. He said everyone was allowed one drawer in a house that was just theirs. The way he said just theirs bothered me. I lay back down and stared at the ceiling again. The apartment felt small. The bed felt like a stage. I opened the dating app once more, this time with intention. I updated my bio. I removed any hint of marriage. I wrote that I liked coffee, live music, and late-night talks. I set my status to single. The app asked if I wanted to show my children. I turned that setting off. It felt like erasing a small piece of myself, but it also felt cleaner for the game I wanted to play. I started swiping. Men in suits, men in gym shirts, men with dogs. Some matches, some passes. It kept my fingers busy, kept my anger warm. In the corner of my eye, I saw Daniel close the laptop. He rubbed his eyes and said he was going to brush his teeth. He did not touch me on the way to the bathroom. I told myself he had left me first in every way that mattered. I told myself I was only changing the label to match the feeling. The app pinged. A new match message slid across the top of my screen. The first line said, "You're single, right?" A new match notification asking if I was single slid onto my screen as Daniel's desk drawer clicked shut behind me. At first, the app was just something I played with in the quiet parts of my day. Little red dots on my screen, small hits of attention between emails and coffee runs. It felt like a game, not a choice. The next morning, I left early for the co-working space. Daniel was still at the kitchen table, laptop open, Milo's lunchbox beside him. He said he could do drop-off. I said fine, I had a lot on. He asked if we could sit down on Sunday and look at the budget. I said we could if he promised not to act like I was the problem. He went quiet, then said he would make a note. On the bus, I opened the app. The man who had asked if I was single had sent another message. He said he liked my smile and asked if I was free that week. I typed that I was pretty free and added a winking emoji. It came out easier than it should have. I did not mention Daniel. I did not mention Milo. It felt lighter to type only about myself. At the co-working space, the morning rush came in. People with laptops and headphones, talking too loud about projects. I sat at the front desk, scanned memberships, printed badges. A new member, a tall guy in a tech hoodie, joked that I must know everyone's business. I smiled and said I did. He asked if my boyfriend ever got jealous about all the people I met. I heard myself say, without thinking, that I was single. The word left my mouth before I could pull it back. It hung there for a second, then settled. He nodded and said it must be easy to meet people here. I laughed and said something vague about options. A coworker, Lila, glanced over from the printer. Her eyebrows went up. I pretended not to notice. Later, in the small kitchen, Lila asked quietly if things were okay with Daniel. I changed my tone, made it tired and wounded. I said Daniel was basically married to his spreadsheets and that I felt single most of the time. I said I did not know what we were anymore. She gave me the concerned face. I liked that I could shift the story that easily. At lunch, my cousin Vera dropped by. She sometimes used a hot desk for her projects, which mostly meant editing videos and posting them. She hugged me, told me I looked too cute to be hidden, and asked if I had looked at the new rooftop bar she sent me. I said no, not yet. She asked about Daniel in a bored tone. I rolled my eyes and said he was still counting beans for a living. We sat at a corner table. I told her I had made a new app profile, that I had set it to single, that men were already messaging me. She squealed. She said she had known I was too young to be tied down forever, and that I was basically single in spirit anyway. She asked if I felt guilty. I said, not really. I said Daniel never acted like my husband anymore, so I did not see why I had to act like his wife. My phone buzzed. A new message from the first guy. He asked if I wanted to meet for coffee near the Riverside Promenade Thursday afternoon. I told him I would check my work schedule, not my husband. I could feel Vera watching my face. She asked what he looked like. I showed her his profile. She said I should go. She said we could pretend it was market research. I checked my actual work calendar. Thursday afternoons were slow. I could take a long lunch. It would not be a big thing. Just coffee. Just one lie. As we finished talking, Daniel walked in with Milo. I had forgotten he said he might pass by with some forms for printing. He waved at me, but did not come up right away. Milo ran to my desk, waving a drawing. He said he had made a house with 3 people and a cat. He pointed at the figures. One was him, one was Daddy, one was me. The cat was too big. I made the right noises and kissed his head. Daniel came closer with an envelope in his hand. He said he needed to print a letter for the landlord and asked if he could use one of the shared computers. I said sure. Vera watched him, then flicked her eyes back to me. I knew she was thinking I could do better. As he turned away, his phone buzzed in his hand. The screen lit up just enough for me to see. A calendar alert reading, Riverside office 3:35 p.m. for next week. I frowned. Riverside, same general area as my planned coffee meeting. I asked what that was about. He said it was a personal meeting and that he was finally getting around to some errands he had been putting off. He said grown-ups had to keep their paperwork in order. He walked over to the printer. I watched him slide the landlord letter in and press buttons. The printer whirred, then spat out a blank page before the real sheet. He sighed and set it aside. The smell of toner drifted across the room. For some reason, that smell stuck in my mind. After he left, Vera leaned on the desk and said Daniel had dad energy, even when he just walked across a room. She said no wonder I lied about being single. I laughed and said, half serious, that people at work already thought I was. I told her about the tech guy calling me the single receptionist. She said we should go out Friday and play the role properly. That afternoon, Ms. Patel, my manager, asked for a quick word in the small glass meeting room. She had her tablet in front of her. She looked at me with that professional smile that means trouble. She said some of the members had noticed my friendly style and that she appreciated my warmth, but she wanted to remind me to keep things appropriately professional. She asked if everything at home was stable, in that careful tone. I said Daniel was just stressed with work. On my break, I checked my phone. The app showed several new matches. I replied to a few with lazy answers. I confirmed the coffee meetup with the Riverside guy for Thursday, saying I was free at 1. He replied with a smiley and said he liked relaxed lunches. I told myself it was just nice to be chosen. On the bus home, I scrolled through Vera's stories. She had posted a short clip of us at the co-working kitchen, adding a caption over my head. "My single queen, ready for rooftop season." She tagged me. I quickly set the story to hide from Daniel's account. It felt like slipping something into my purse without paying. When I walked into the apartment, the light was softer. Milo was playing on the floor. Daniel was at the kitchen table again, laptop open. A folder lay beside him. On the tab, in his neat handwriting, was the word household. There were a few red-circled dates on the wall planner behind him. He looked up and asked if my day had gone well. I said it was fine, busy. I moved closer and saw a spreadsheet on the screen. This one looked cleaner than last night's. Columns labeled with months, rows with words like rent, childcare, groceries, and another column with check marks. In the corner, a small section had dates and short notes. I could not read them all. When I leaned in, he tapped a key and the window minimized. The desktop showed only a few icons. I joked that he treated our life like one of his audits. He said that if he did not, everything would fall apart. Milo showed me his new drawing. This time, he had drawn our apartment with only 2 mugs on the counter and no people inside. I asked where we were. He said he had not decided yet. While I started dinner, my phone buzzed again. A new message preview slid down from the top. The Riverside man wrote that he could not wait to meet a pretty free spirit and asked if I had ever been married. I deleted the preview without opening the full message, just in case Daniel looked over. He did not. He was already carrying his laptop toward the guest room. A new message asking if I had ever been married flashed on my phone as Daniel carried his laptop and a folder labeled household into the guest room and shut the door. The Riverside coffee was not supposed to be a big deal. That is what I told myself all morning on Thursday. Just coffee, just a harmless chat, just a little proof that I could still make someone's eyes light up. At work, I watched the clock more than the door. My hands moved over the keyboard, but my mind was already on the promenade. Around 12:30, I told Ms. Patel I needed a long lunch to handle some forms. She said that was fine, as long as I logged the time. I nodded like a responsible adult. On the bus, I checked my reflection in the window. I had changed into a loose blouse that looked casual but careful. I told myself I looked like a woman who could be single. No finger marks on my skin from a child, no grocery list in my hand, no husband waiting with questions. He was already at the cafe near the river when I got there. He stood up as I arrived and smiled like he was genuinely pleased. That look hit me harder than it should have. He said I looked even better than my photos. I reported that to myself later in my head, like a line from a book. He asked if I worked nearby. I said yes. He asked if I lived alone. I said yes. The lie did not feel heavy. It felt smooth and rehearsed. We ordered coffee and walked along the water, passing joggers and tourists. He talked about his job in tech, his old band, his roommates. I told him I loved my freedom, that I liked being able to go out anytime. I did not mention Milo's bedtime or Daniel's spreadsheets. It was like playing pretend, but with a real person. At one point, he asked if I had ever been close to marriage. I said I had been close once, but it had not worked out. I said I had learned not to let anyone tie me down again. As I said it, Daniel's face flashed in my mind for half a second, but I pushed it away. The man laughed and said he was glad I was still on the market. He asked if I wanted to meet again. I said maybe. I told myself it was just nice to be wanted. When I got back to the co-working space, Vera was waiting by the door. She had seen my little geotag on the app and guessed. She asked how it went. I told her it was fine, that he was sweet, that it was nothing serious. She said we should go out properly on Saturday and see who else thinks you're single. She said she'd invite some of her friends and maybe her favorite bartender. That was how Casper's name first slid into my life. On Saturday, the city felt like it was waiting for something. The sky was clear, the kind of evening that pulls people to rooftops and bars. Daniel had taken Milo to Saffron and Greg's for an early dinner. He said they wanted more time with him. I said that was nice. I did not say I was glad to have a free night. I met Vera and two of her friends at a rooftop bar near the center. Music played low. People clustered in little groups, phones out everywhere. Vera had already posted a story with the caption "Single Auntie's Night Again" and tagged me. I set the privacy so Daniel's account would not see it. That simple button made me feel powerful and sick at the same time. Casper was behind the bar when we arrived. Vera waved at him like they were old friends. She told me he did some music on the side, that he was fun, that he always flirted. He looked over, saw me, and smiled. He asked what we wanted to drink. Vera ordered something complicated. I said I would have what she had. That felt like the right kind of careless. As the night went on, Vera told Casper that I was freshly free and not tied down. She said it like a joke. He raised an eyebrow, looked at my bare ring finger, and assumed the rest. I did not correct him. I laughed and rolled my eyes, like the world had tried to chain me and failed. People around us started lifting their phones. One of Vera's friends filmed a quick pan. The skyline, our table, me tossing my hair back as I laughed. She typed text over it. Her, single, his problem. They tagged me. Notifications popped up on my screen. I muted them. Later, we moved to a club a few blocks away. The music there was louder, the lights dimmer. Casper finished his shift and joined us. On the dance floor, the crowd pressed close. Vera shouted that tonight we were all single, no questions asked. I let the bass run through me and pretended that was true. On the smoking patio, Casper and I ended up near the railing together. He asked how long I had been single. I said a couple of years. He said he could not believe someone had let me go. I thought about laughing it off, but instead I soaked in the line. It tasted good. He asked if I was sure I was not breaking any hearts. I said if a man wanted me, he should have treated me like this. He said, like what? I said, like something he could lose. He looked down at my mouth. I knew what was coming. I let it. He kissed me. It was not a storybook kiss, just two people drunk on music and lies. Still, it counted. I told myself it did not mean anything. Later, I told myself it meant everything. I can hold both stories if it helps me sleep. Inside, someone started a chant. People clinked glasses. Vera joined us near the door with her phone up. She said she needed a toast video for her story. She called out that her beautiful cousin was finally free, that she was done pretending to be taken. People cheered, not knowing there was a husband and child in that sentence. We raised our glasses. Casper's arm brushed mine. Vera pointed her camera at us and told everyone to shout, "To single life!" The crowd did it, loud and messy. Phones shone like little moons around us. For a second, I knew this would live on screens, not just in my memory. Back home much later, I sat on the edge of the bed scrolling. Vera had posted her toast clip already. In it, I was in the center, hair wild, eyes bright, glass raised. Casper stood close, his arm behind me. The caption read, "She finally admits she's single." View counts ticked up fast. I set the story to hide from Daniel again, but the internet is not a neat box. People share from one account to another. Screenshots travel fast. On Sunday morning, after we picked up Milo from his grandparents, we stopped by a small bakery. While Daniel stood in line, I sat with Milo at a table, checking my phone. A message from Vera popped up with a link. Someone from the co-working building had reposted the toast video. The caption now said, "She said she's been single for years, queen energy." I watched the clip again, this time with other eyes. I saw myself laughing as if nothing else existed. I saw Casper's hand on my shoulder. I saw no ring, no child, no Daniel. Daniel came back with a paper bag of pastries. He set it down and took his own phone out to check something. I looked up. On his screen, for a split second, I saw the same video thumbnail. Someone had sent it to him in a group chat. His face went still. He tapped the notification, then stopped himself and pressed the back button instead. He slipped the phone into his pocket. He did not say anything. He only asked if Milo wanted chocolate or plain. Later that afternoon at home, Daniel went into the guest room with his laptop. The door did not close all the way. I passed by and saw his screen. He had the toast video open in a small window, paused on the frame where I shouted with my glass raised. He clicked something. A CloudSync message appeared. File uploaded successfully. He opened a spreadsheet beside it and typed in a new date. Vera's toast video of me finally admitting I'm single played on Daniel's screen as a CloudSync pop-up saying, "File uploaded successfully," blinked in the corner. The week after the rooftop toast, my life split into two timelines. In one, I was the fun single woman people saw on their screens. In the other, I was the wife sitting at a table with a man who had stopped trying to meet my eyes. The family dinner was Saffron's idea. She called Daniel first, then me. She said Milo had not seen everyone together in a while, and that they missed him. She suggested the family restaurant with the long tables and sticky menus. Daniel told me about it in the kitchen, while Milo played with toy cars on the floor. He said his parents wanted to meet on Saturday evening. I asked if my mother and cousin were invited. He said he had already told them the time. He spoke like he was reading from a list. I said it sounded like an ambush. He said it sounded like dinner. On Saturday, I dressed carefully. Not as wild as the club, not as plain as a normal family night. A dress that made my waist look good but would not scare Saffron. I told myself I wanted to show that I was still worth fighting for. I also told myself I did not care what any of them thought. Both could be true for a few more hours. The restaurant was busy when we arrived. Families, birthdays, noisy kids. We found our long table near the back. Saffron and Greg were already there. Rhea and Vera came a few minutes later. Saffron hugged Milo first, then me, then Daniel. Her hug was warm but tight, like she was holding something back. We ordered drinks. Rhea started talking about a show she was watching. Greg asked Milo about school. I could feel everyone trying to keep things normal. It did not last long. Vera, who could never keep her phone down, pulled it out halfway through the meal. She said she had something funny to show us. She clicked around, then turned the screen toward the middle of the table. It was the toast video. The rooftop, the glasses, my face in the center, my arm around Casper's shoulders. Vera had saved it before it disappeared. The caption she had added that night was still there. She finally admits she's single. She laughed and said everyone online had loved it. She said she had gotten so many messages asking if Casper and I were a couple now. She said people had called me inspiration. The table went quiet in a strange way. The noise of the restaurant went on around us, but our little island froze. Saffron's eyes went to Daniel, then to me. Greg's jaw tightened. Rhea smiled and said it was just a bit of fun. She said I looked beautiful. Vera realized too late that nobody else was laughing. Daniel did not grab the phone. He did not shout. He just stared at the screen for a long moment, then looked away. He picked up his water glass and took a sip. His hand was steady. Saffron asked Vera to play it again. Vera hesitated, then pressed back. The clip rolled. My voice shouted, "To single life!" The crowd repeated it. Casper's hand rested on my shoulder. The champagne in my glass almost spilled as I laughed. When the video ended, Saffron put her fork down. She asked me, quietly but clearly, if that was what I told people now, that I was single. I said it was a joke, a party thing. I said everyone knew I was married. She asked if Casper knew. I did not answer that part. Rhea jumped in. She said young women should not have to act like widows just because they have a ring. She said a little flirting never hurt anyone. She said Saffron's generation had stayed in boring marriages and regretted it later. She told me not to let them shame me. Saffron looked at her, then at me. She said this was not about flirting. She said calling yourself single and acting like it in public was different. She asked if I had thought about Milo seeing this video when he was older. I rolled my eyes and said kids in the future would not care about some rooftop toast. I said everyone was so dramatic about content. Greg spoke up for the first time. He said he had worked with men who cried in his garage because their wives had done less than this. He said he did not believe men were always victims, but he believed pain was real. He asked Daniel if he was okay. Daniel said he was managing. That word made me want to slap him. It sounded polite and pathetic at the same time. I felt trapped between their eyes and the empty plates. So I did what I always do when I feel cornered. I started talking fast. I said Daniel had been checked out for years. I said he barely touched me. I said I had felt single long before I said it out loud. I said just because a piece of paper said married did not mean I had to feel dead. Rhea nodded, saying she had tried to tell me that. Vera looked uncomfortable now, which annoyed me. She was the one who had shown the video. Saffron listened without interrupting. When I was done, she looked at Daniel. She asked him if he wanted to stay in this. She said he did not have to. She said there were ways to protect Milo and himself if he felt disrespected. She said he was not trapped just because they had a child and a lease. It felt like an ultimatum, but she aimed it at him, not me. That made it worse. I snapped that she was trying to steal my husband. I said she had never thought I was good enough. I said she was using this video as an excuse to break us. She replied that I was the one who had told the world I was single, not her. Milo, who had been drawing on his kids' menu, looked up then. He asked what single meant. The table froze again. I forced a laugh and said it was just a word from songs. He asked why Aunt Vera's video said I was single if I was married to Daddy. His voice was too loud for such a small question. I told him it was a joke, that grown-ups sometimes said silly things when they had drinks. He frowned and said it did not sound funny. Then he went back to his drawing, pressing his crayon so hard it snapped. While I was trying to breathe, Daniel's phone lit up beside his plate. The screen showed a call labeled private. The ringtone was muted. He pressed decline with one finger, eyes still on Milo. The call icon vanished, leaving a tiny missed call dot. After dinner, we all stepped out onto the sidewalk. Rhea pulled me aside and said I needed to stop explaining myself so much. She said I should own what I did and stop letting them guilt-trip me. She said Daniel would calm down if he realized I was not going to beg. Saffron hugged Milo and told him she loved him. She squeezed Daniel's arm and said to call her later. On the way home in the car, Milo fell asleep. I stared out the window. Daniel drove in silence. Streetlights ran over his face in bands. I started to speak, to say the video was just a moment, that it did not show everything. He said we had already said enough at the restaurant. His voice was flat. When we got home, he carried Milo to bed. I stayed in the living room, scrolling through my phone. The video had already made its way through more group chats. Someone from the co-working space had shared it with the caption, "She said she's been single for years." Comments were piling up. Some praised me. Some called me trash. I focused on the praise. A little later, I walked past the guest room. The door was mostly closed, but a thin strip of light showed. I heard the faint hum of the shredder again. Grind, pause, grind. Then it stopped. A moment later, a drawer slid shut with that same small click I had heard before. The smell of warm paper and toner drifted into the hall. At the family restaurant, Milo asked why I called myself single, while a muted call labeled private lit up on Daniel's phone. And that night, the shredder hum stopped with a drawer clicking shut behind his half-closed guest room door. After that dinner, the lie did not feel like a joke anymore. It felt like a costume that had started to grow into my skin. Still, I kept wearing it. I had already told too many people I was single. I did not know how to go back without looking small. Daniel did not fight with me that night. He tucked Milo into bed, sat on the edge for a bit, and then went straight to the guest room. I lay in our bedroom, staring at the dark ceiling, waiting for him to come in and start an argument. He never did. The silence felt like someone pressing a pillow over my face. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the front door closing softly. I checked my phone. No new text from Daniel. The clock on my screen said 7:42. Milo's door was open and his bed was empty. A note sat on the kitchen table. Took Milo to Saffron's for breakfast, back by noon. D. It was neat, almost like a work email. No hearts, no love you, just logistics. I felt replaced, so I did what I always do when I feel pushed out. I left too. I grabbed my bag and went to the supermarket, telling myself we needed a few things. I wandered the aisles, putting random items in the cart. It felt like I was trying to fill some hole with cereal boxes and shower gel. At the checkout, the cashier was a girl who sometimes worked at the co-working cafe on weekends. She looked at me, then at my cart, then at my face again. A little smile tugged at her mouth. She asked if I was the woman from that rooftop video. My throat went dry. I asked what she meant. She said her friend had shown her the clip of me shouting that I was single and raising a glass with that bartender guy. She said I had main character energy. The customer behind me snorted. He muttered, just loud enough, that some people should not get married if they want to act single. I pretended not to hear, but my ears burned. I laughed and said people took short videos too seriously. The cashier said the internet never forgets. She beeped my items through one by one. As I left, I caught my reflection in the glass door. I looked like any ordinary woman with groceries, not like a queen in a clip. That annoyed me. Back at the apartment, the place was empty. No Daniel, no Milo, no TV noise. The stillness made me nervous. I put the bags down and walked straight to the guest room. The door was half open. I pushed it wider. The room looked even more like an office than before. On the desk, the binders were stacked. Home, auto, bank, utilities. They were thicker now, full of pages. Next to them lay neat piles of paper with sticky notes on top. Daniel's laptop was open. On the screen, I saw a clean desktop. 2 large folders sat in the center, Archive A and Archive B. A small pop-up in the corner faded just as I looked. File uploaded successfully. I stepped closer. My hand moved toward the mouse on its own. Before I touched it, I noticed a small USB drive on the desk. A strip of tape wrapped around it, with yesterday's date written in Daniel's tight handwriting. My chest felt tight. I opened the top desk drawer a little. Inside, there were envelopes turned upside down, a notebook, and a clipboard. I pulled the clipboard out. Only one word was visible at the top of the first page. Statement. The rest was covered by another sheet. Just then, footsteps sounded in the hall. I shoved the clipboard back and pushed the drawer in. It closed with that soft click again. Daniel appeared in the doorway. His eyes went from my face to the drawer handle. He did not raise his voice. He just said he thought he had left the door mostly closed for a reason. I said it was our house, and I had a right to see. He said I still did, but not to everything, not anymore. He said some things were his now. That line stung. I told him he was acting like a detective in a cheap show. I said he was spying on me instead of talking. He said he had tried talking many times, and that my answers kept changing. He said paper did not change its story. I followed him into the living room, angry and loud. I said the affairs had not even been serious. I said Caspar and the others meant nothing, that they only knew the single version of me. I said if Daniel had been more present, I would not have needed that attention. I said he was partly to blame. I said he had lied too, by acting like everything was fine while he pulled away. He stood near the window, hands in his pockets. When I finished, he nodded slowly, like he was noting each word. Then he spoke quietly. He said he would not argue about feelings anymore. He said feelings were real, but they did not erase choices. He said I had chosen to call myself single in public, to hide our son, to sleep with other men, and then to laugh about it. He said he had chosen, for a long time, to pretend it might change. He said he was done with that choice now. I tried another angle. I said he was tearing our family apart over clips and comments. I said everyone made mistakes. I said we could fix it if he would just delete his spreadsheets and forget what he had seen. I said forgiveness was part of love. He shook his head. He said forgiveness was not the same as pretending nothing happened. He said Milo needed stability, not a mother who might tell strangers she was single again next week. He said he would not follow me around to every rooftop and app trying to correct the record. I asked if he wanted to take Milo away from me. He said he wanted Milo to have two parents who were not at war all the time. He said if that meant they needed clear days and rules written down, then that was what they would have. He spoke like a man who had already made a decision. Later that day, I saw the first sign of it in the way he handled Milo's time. He told Milo, very calmly, that they would start having dad days and mom days. He made a little chart with simple drawings. A house with a blue roof for days with both of us. A house with a green roof for days when Milo would be mostly with him. A house with a yellow roof for times with me. Milo liked the colors. He did not understand the meaning yet. I told Daniel he was brainwashing our son, teaching him to choose between us. He said he was teaching Milo what to expect, so he would not be scared by sudden changes. He said routines help children. I said he was playing the victim. He did not respond. That evening, as he sat at the coffee table, Milo on the rug with his cars, I tried one more time to drag him into a normal fight. I stood over him and said I could still delete my profiles. I said I could block the men. I said we could pretend it never happened if we both agreed. I said we could be new people. He looked up at me, eyes clear. He said I could delete whatever I wanted, but the things had still happened. He said other people had copies. He said Milo had questions now. He said his trust had broken, and that this was not something he could glue back with willpower. I asked if there was anything I could do to keep him. He paused. Then he said he did not think so, not as his wife. He said he would always be Milo's father. He said he wanted to be the best version of that, and that this meant handling things properly, not in the middle of tears and shouting. He used that word again, properly. It sounded heavier this time, like he had signed something inside himself. As he spoke, his phone buzzed on the table. An alarm popped up on the lock screen. The label was clear. Paper drop 9:40 a.m. The time was set for the next morning. He tapped the screen to silence it without breaking eye contact. He told me he would handle everything properly as a phone alarm labeled Paper drop 9:40 a.m. flashed between us on the coffee table. The next morning, I told myself the alarm label meant nothing. Paper drop. It sounded like a delivery, not an end. Daniel left early with Milo, saying he had to stop by the hospital office before daycare. He did not ask if I wanted to come. That annoyed me, so I went anyway. I told the receptionist I was bringing lunch to my husband. She pointed me toward the cafeteria. It was busy. Nurses in scrubs, visitors with trays, the smell of coffee and soup. I checked my phone camera to be sure I looked okay. No one would think I was the kind of woman you serve papers to. A man in a plain shirt walked up. He asked if I was Isolde Wynne. I said yes. He confirmed my address, then handed me a thick envelope. He said I was being served with a petition for dissolution of marriage and temporary orders for Milo, the apartment, and support. My hand shook as I opened it. The first page said Daniel's name as petitioner, mine as respondent, temporary primary residence of minor child with petitioner, exclusive temporary possession of marital home. My stomach dropped. Across the room, Daniel turned toward the elevators, not toward me. In the hospital cafeteria, the process server placed the divorce petition and temporary custody orders into my hands while Daniel walked toward the elevator and did not look back.